Hey, recently we finished up the championship team series and we talked about championship families. In that message, we talked about how God created us in His image, male and female. None of us have it all together. Now, let's face it, guys, we think we got it all together. We think we're the whole package, but we don't. We need a woman, and God created us for relationships, and the woman who is created in the image of God and the man who is created in the image of God come together and join team family. That's what God created. Before He created the church, before the government, He created the home. Now, because of that, that's that first institution created by God. And you know what? Sin entered into that holy marriage, that home, that family, that team. So since the beginning of time, there has been this attack on the family to dissolve the family. When the serpent came to Eve to get her to sin, to go against what God had said, and frankly, we've been messing up ever since. And so that's why we have the challenge and the fight for our homes and our families. Now, thousands of years later, we don't function the way God intended. We've got this dysfunction. In fact, all of us are dysfunctional at some level. I'm dysfunctional, you're dysfunctional, and if we're going to move forward, we've got to own those areas of dysfunction. Now, just to give you a window into my world, this may surprise you, but I'm really not a good communicator at home. My wife has to draw it out of me, and so we work on some things to make sure we communicate and listen and forgive one another, because we're always acting selfish, and we have to learn to forgive so that we can move forward to be the people God created us to be. You see, nowhere is the gospel more communicated than in that context of what God intended, where two sinful individuals come together to form a team and learn to forgive one another and to grow together, because each one of us are created in the image of God. In fact, if you take this and carry it out, here's what happens. If I live the Christ life, if I live this life that Jesus lives in me, there ought to be times that my wife looks across the room and she does a double take because she sees a little bit of Jesus in me. There ought to be times in her life as she's living the Christ life that I'll look across the room and do a double take because I see Jesus in her. That's what healthy families do when we live out the Christ life. And so here's the deal. How do we drill down in this area? What's the one area in your life that you need to adjust? You know it. The Spirit of God's been speaking to you, but you put it off. What's that one area that you could begin to be more like Christ? Yield to Him. Maybe that's a temptation that needs to be conquered. Maybe it's an attitude that needs to be let go. Whatever the deal, would you yield, become more like Jesus? And then in the context of your relationships with your family, whether it's with a child or a parent or with a spouse, be a little bit more like Jesus and watch God change hearts and homes from the inside out. Love you much. Hope you have a great day. We're praying for you. God bless.